Welcome back to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. You will all agree with me that we are in a crisis. Whether you call it a political crisis, social crisis, economic crisis, and what have you, we are in a crisis. And you have seen a few days ago how people went to the streets to lament about the high cost of living and how the police dealt with them. And then now we are back at some meetings, and we have to call someone from another country to sit down with us to bring peace and what have you. But when you check very closely, you will realize that we are suffering from a constitutional crisis. That is the summary of what we are going through. Because whether it is political or that, what we are suffering from is a political crisis, a constitutional crisis, and I will explain to you why. You see, when we promulgated the 2010 constitution, there were two camps. There's this camp that really wanted the constitution because they felt Kenya was ready and ripe for a new constitution. But then we all agreed that it was not a perfect constitution. There were certain areas that needed to be looked at. And because time was of essence, we decided, let us pass it. Then we will relook into the areas that we feel should be amended. The opponent of that proposed constitution, the 2010 constitution, argued that there was no need of hurrying. There was no need of rushing to pass a constitution when we felt that there were certain areas to be amended. They were of the view that we needed to have amended everything, then we pass it. But finally, the majority had their way while the minority had their say. And so, ladies and gentlemen, the time to look into those areas is now. One of the people who are present during the constitutional review process when we were transitioning from the old constitution to the new constitution is lawyer Patrick Loch Otieno, PLO Lumumba. Let me tell you, many a times I disagree with the sentiments of Patrick Lumumba. But he weighed in on the discussion about what is going on in the country and what needs to be done. And for some reasons, I found myself in full concurrence with his sentiments. Kindly listen to him.
Remember, the 2010 constitution is not the Bombards constitution.
No, it isn't.
This is a politician's constitution largely made in Naivasha. Particularly as regards devolution, particularly as regards the current structure of the presidency. We did not prescribe this because we were dealing with ethnicities. So we said, let us have a parliamentary system. Then the politicians, of course, for reasons that I'll not disclose here, but I know, somebody wanted to be president at that time and was persuaded by another group that if you want to be president, why do you want to be a weak president? Take this one. And they took it. The time now is to relook at those things. Remember our earlier conversation. We cannot run away from the fact that we are very ethnic. And we are ethnic, and some of this leadership is representational and feel good. The problem in Kenya now is obsession with the presidency. That is the problem. It's not even national government. It's just obsession with the presidency. I've had people, even those who have gone to school from different, we just want our son to be president even for 5 minutes. So it doesn't matter. We just want our until the day, and one of the things that we were talking about when we talked about the parliamentary system is to make the presidency unattractive. We even toyed with the idea of a titular presidency like that of India or that of Israel, so that the person who is in charge of daily government is the prime minister, active in parliament. And I think there is something that when we are talking about constitutional amendment is something that we must just bring on the table.
Let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, the time for constitutional review is now to look into the areas that, the grey areas, if you ask me. We have now invited Olusegun Obasanjo to come and sit as an arbiter between the Ruto and Raila camp. But this is temporary. This is a ceasefire. It is not a permanent solution. You see, one thing that you must agree with is that we are playing our politics and we peg it on our ethnic groups. Anytime we are campaigning, we go back to our ethnic groups and we promise them, and we feel that when our man is in power, then we will get manna from heaven, honey, like it was in Canada. But this has become a disease in Kenya. Having realized that we are an ethnic nation, then we cannot run away from it. And I'll tell you just 3 areas and reasons why I believe that we cannot run away from reviewing our constitution. Let's begin with the executive. In the previous government, Raila and Uhuru Kenyatta proposed the Building Bridges Initiative. And among other things, there was this general feeling that we needed to expand the executive. You can argue that when we expand the executive, then the electorate will be burdened and the citizens will have to, dig deep into their pockets to sustain the offices with the secretariats and security and big cars. That is very true. But this will be the cure of our problem every election cycle, let me tell you. If you look at, or if you listen to the Kenyan citizens, lawyers will tell you, sisi tuko na Mudavadi na Wetangula na hata speaker ni wetu. Then you talk of the Kales, they will telling you, sisi Ruto ni wetu, na the Kikuyus will tell you, sisi Gachagua ni wetu. Even the moment when people go for elections, we do not vote people because of the policies, but many a times we vote people because our man is there. Sisi tunachagua mtu wetu, modo wa nyumba, odo wa adu, things like that. And so when we dig deep into our pockets to sustain offices that will prevent bloodshed, so be it. I have seen people, argue that the problem that we have is that people don't accept when they lose elections. But the other people will also tell you that the problem we have is that people rig elections. And so I agree with Patrick Lumumba that we need to look at our executive as it was proposed in the BBI and see how to entrench some of these things, like the prime minister, if it is the official opposition or leader, things like that. Maybe a prime minister with two deputies, because you can dismiss what I'm telling you. But even where you sit, when you see your man, for example, when people are on a national holiday and you see your man there represented and is called upon to address the nation, you feel good. Some of them, like Patrick says, just a feel good. And we must look at it because it will be a remedy to most of our problems. You look at the office of the chief minister, not entrenched into any constitution. Mudavadi Musalia is a senior citizen. It is very humiliating to hold an office that is amorphous. It is not entrenched into in our constitution. And so it tells you that it is high time we looked at our constitution to entrench that office in the constitution. You see, what Musalia is doing is the roles of a prime minister. But because we refused to look deeply and keenly into the BBI, look at where we are. He's simply a prime minister, but we can't call him a prime minister because it is not entrenched in the constitution. We've had debates about 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote. Boundaries delimitation. We need to look at our boundaries, because I have had this complaint that there are regions with very many people. The population is just too big. And parliamentarians complain that they're given the same CDF as those with scarce population. And they say that this is really a problem because you don't even know how to distribute, for example, the bursary. You don't know how to distribute it to your people because it's just too little. These are things that we can look at. I remember during the BBI there was a formula how to distribute, money from the national level to the county level. I have seen people like Waiguru, some of these leaders from Mount Kenya, complaining, not only Mount Kenya, but other regions. They feel that we need to relook into this, and this is the right time. Yesterday, I had one of the commissioners complaining that IEBC is in debt today, and they have not been paid. We have accumulated debt from, 2017. And Okur Okot is proposing that why do we have that bloated staff in the cabinet, in IEBC, yet they are not helping. And he's proposing that maybe we look at, employing them on maybe a contract basis or something, in the sense that they only earn sitting allowance, so that when they are not working, they don't have those huge salaries. These are just proposals, and I'm sure if you're given a chance from where you sit to, point areas where you think we should be looking at, you can say many of them. And so Patrick is saying that whatever the talks that we are looking at, these are just to cool things down. They won't mean so much. Hii ni kama painkiller. It doesn't cure. It's just for the heat to go down. But once we have not uprooted the tree, the root cause of the problem will still continue to be with us, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't know what to think, but these are just my views. I feel that we need a constitutional review to look at gray areas, to look at, for example, the functions of the governor, things like that, a deputy governor, so that we don't have, a problem like the one that we have in Siaya between Orengo and this deputy, Oduol. We could mention many of them, but the bottom line is, instead of sitting down to start talking, maybe the Obasanjo team can lay ground so that we have to relook into our constitution. And when we look at it, let us accept that we are very ethnic in our approach to elections.